Well, good evening, everybody. It is wonderful to find myself on a Monday night with you gorgeous humans. Hope everybody's had a lovely day. I have got some life admin done this afternoon. Hi, Anna. Welcome. Everybody's starting to join in. So exciting. Well, tonight, have I got a treat for you guys to show you how to turn oily, hi Sue, oily kind of fuzzy, limp, lost, it still has some definition, which is due to the product, but it's lost a lot of its form. So I'm really looking forward to showing you guys how I do a refresh. There's a few really key tips that I think for those of you who struggle with a refresh at home, you are going to love it. And then at the end, we are going to go in and I'm going to show you guys how to do a little bit of a self-care moment. It's really important to do those moments in your life and more regularly than we ever allow ourselves the credit or the investment of the time. But yes, we are going to show you guys how to use the Hush oil as a winter hair treatment. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, just while we wait for everyone to catch on or to join in because it's only 7:32. I don't know if you guys have noticed, you guys get sneak peeks. There's been some imagery popping out from our most recent photo shoot. Are they not the most beautiful things you've ever seen? So, so fun. Possibly mine and one of my girlfriend's most favorite new packagings is this guy. Check it out. Just makes me so excited. Anyway, everything's arriving soon. And then we just have to get it all filled. I know the colours, Nissa, they're beautiful. They match your book really well. Look at that. So harmonious. But anyway, let's get into this. Now, I am using a product that we are testing at the moment. A texturizing dry shampoo. So this is round 1 testing. And I had to ask Ronnie if it was okay to pre-show you guys a product. But we're really loving it. We're going to do one more round of testing, and if it's a goer, we will get this one out in the market because it's amazing. So for those of you who don't get oily hair, this step is completely not important for you. For me, you can see kind of, it's harder to see in these lights, but I get that really flat kind of oily slick to the roots of my hair. So that is why I'm going through, and you guys can watch this. So fun. Anyway, I can't wait for you all to fall in love with this product. But you can just use a regular dry shampoo, whatever you have at home, until we launch ours. And then you can buy this one. But I'm just going through first to make sure that I have taken the oily annoyance out of my hair. Now, this is sometimes good if you know that you're going to refresh in the morning and you're going to hit the pillow and go to sleep at night. This is the best thing to put in the night before. Why? Because it has time to soak in and absorb up all of your natural oils. A really important spot to do. Look at this. is that how it was sitting really bad before. See how I have that really bad crown? Like everybody gets. I get it too. So just make sure you pump. This is why we got to test it and make sure the bottles work really well. You have to shake it every now and then. Oop, not even squirting my hair. It stopped puffing. You have to give it a shake. Okay. I'm just looking in the mirror behind the phone. So watch, see here, I'm going to spray it. It goes a little bit white, like a talc, but nothing extreme. So yeah, but if you had darker hair, we've got a few people with dark hair trialing this out at the moment just to see how it goes in dark hair. So we will report back. All right, so we've absorbed, number one, I've allowed dry shampoo to go through and take out any of that oily. I mean, I get the best volume after a refresh. Nissa Burton, who just commented before, she gets the best hair from a refresh. So wavies, if you are washing your hair because you think your hair is a bit oily and a bit gross, stop. Stretch it at least 2 or 3 more days and you're just going to completely love what becomes of your hair after a refresh. Okay, so tip number 1, a spray bottle. Now, there's something different about this. The spray bottle has warm water, not cold. You can't use cold water when you're refreshing. The reason being is you want to help reactivate and help bond any product or whatever. I'm not using that product. But you want to help bond the product to the hair and help it kind of slink in. On wash day, your hair was warm when you were styling it. So the same thing needs to happen, warm water in your sprayer. That's going to change your refresh. My product of choice is obviously Oomph. Now, I feel like I need to let the elephant be exposed in the room, but I have recently, as in, I've got so many knots in my hair. I have recently, as in like a week and a half ago, I've ditched Oomph and I've gone to Pow as my styler. Reason being, you've probably noticed that my hair is longer at the moment, and Oomph wasn't holding my curl, my big juicy waves. So I've swapped back to Pow and I'm loving it. So, yep. But I just have a really big bird's nest at the back. So what I've done is when you find a knot, try not to keep pushing down on it. When you do that, you compact all of the little strands into a really tight ball. So what you want to do, watch this, ready? Open the knot. If you had a really delicate gold chain that got a knot in it, you wouldn't just yank down on it. You would delicately try and, give breath, give air, expand the knot. Exactly the same with our hair. So imagine it like a cobweb or a gold chain. And, yeah. Now I'm just gently checking that I don't have any huge knots as I go through before I wet it down. Sometimes in fine hair, all the fine ladies will nod their head in agreement with this, is when you dampen your hair, it can get even knottier. So it's really vital to go through and make sure before you start misting that you just spritz through a little bit of water once you've done that gentle detangle, okay? So we've got dry shampoo in. I sectioned my hair and I have got warm water in my sprayer and I have finger detangled. I haven't brushed. Brushing can come when we're using the spritz and when we've got some dampness in the hair. So far, fingers, dry shampoo, warm water, okay? So I'm just gonna work with half my hair at the time. Now, depending on how much hair you have, depends on how you can work. how large a section you can work. Now, people, please fire away any questions you have, because you have me, my undivided attention. So make the most of it. Just getting those cheeky little... When you feel the big knot, make sure you expand the knot. Welcome, everybody. Such a beautiful turnout of friends. So biggest tip, warm water in your sprayer. Now, as it sits in here, my water has actually gotten a bit cold since I filled it up at the basin downstairs. So a good tip, if you know you're going to refresh, is don't be afraid to put hot water in. Obviously not boiling hot because you'll melt your sprayer. But make sure it's quite on the warmer side. And detangle. How wet do I make my hair, Sue? You wet it until... I'm just going to turn my light brightness up so you can see a bit better. Sometimes I'm technologically challenged. You wet it until you feel and see the curl clumps joining back together. So if they're not jumping back in, like see how they're all reclumping? That's a sign that I've got it wet enough. Now I can make it less wet. I'm just not going to get the clumps. I'm not going to get all those flyaway strands back into the clumps. So if your goal is massive volume and not so much definition, then a lighter misting would be what you'd want to do. But if your goal is complete definition and no strand out of place, the wetter, you would want to go a bit wetter. Okay, so I've just taken like 2 pumps and I'm going to do one hand on each side because I already have a full head of pow in. Oh, I've got such big knots at the back. Okay, so I'm just glazing over. I'm not raking through. I was just going like so or like so. Now that I've got the product in there, I've tilted my head to the side. Why? Because I'm trying to lift volume through. And I'm using my crab claws occasionally with my thumb going through to help detangle. I felt like that was going to be a risky move because we all know damp hair tangles more. So if you have tangly hair, don't do that. Just glaze over the top. So when you elongate and do this kind of like ribboning, you are pulling back in those flyaway strands. You're not straightening your hair because the hair is wet. We'll be able to re-scrunch the curl back in. But when you pull it like that, you are bringing back in all of the flyaways. So wherever you get the most flyaways, you need to do that the most. Okay. Now I'm just going to give it one more light mist because I'm about to scrunch and bring back in my curl formation. So warm water, a little bit of oomph. If your hair is on the drier side, cruise control may be your best friend for this process. Or a combo of cruise and pow if you need more hold. And then just lean from side to side and you are just getting that curl form to come back. I don't have any squelching sounds. But I definitely have no floof. So I'm going to do 2 more sections. Now, who here can, or maybe who struggle, put your hands up if you really struggle with refreshing. That would probably be the best thing. Give me a hands up or a purple love heart or something cute. So I'm just going to, again, split my hair in half because I find it easier to work where I can see. And I can't see at the back of my head. Erin, you struggle with the refresh? Yep. You have similar hair to mine. It can get curly, but it can also, and we both work out at the gym a bit, so that also creates problems. Just clipping this side up, I've got it a little bit wonky. Sue, you struggle. Kirsty, you struggle. Yeah. It's a serious issue, but imagine, right? Just think, I'm such a logical processor. If you could make a wash day last 2 extra days with a good refresh, you would, number one, go through so much less shampoo and conditioner. Number two, you would gain more volume because dirty, grungier hair gets kind of more volume. And you're just kind of allowing your hair just to, I don't know, it's a bit of a checkout. You don't have to do the whole wash and blow dry and styling and everything. So I see a big value in mastering the refresh. And if it's something that you're struggling with, you're not alone. You're not the only person that struggles with a refresh. So I'm glazing over the top, and then I'm going to drop down the front and just try and breathe some life into the back of my hair where it gets so tangly. Hey, Beck. But yes, working through the hair like so. If you feel little bubbles and lumps, it's kind of, you know when you can feel them. If you can feel them, that's when you can kind of pick up a section. If it was ultra bad, you could go through with your brush at that point. The back of my hair is so knotty, but I'm going to give it a go. So yeah, it's completely up to you. You can go in there with the brush. And look at that. I did get all those tangles out. It's just I'm going to need to wet it a tiny bit more now because I've floofed it. Okay, so I've gone through that side, glazed, applied product, and now I'm just giving it a scrunch to remind it can curl. Now, the reason I'm doing it on this side is because I'm always trying to not elongate out the roots and get heaps of curl happening here. So make sure you do keep your rotation as you go around the scalp. So many people joining us. So great. So big tips for those of you. Carolyn, I'll answer your question in a second. Big tips for those of you who have just joined. Warm water in your spray gun, number 1. Section your hair, number 2. And if your hair is ultra tangly when you get it wet, detangle it when it's dry before you start refreshing, or just don't. Just embrace the refresh and have it a bit funky. Okay, Carolyn, I've been doing a co-wash and then redo styling products because I feel like I can smell a dirty scalp. That is a real issue. Dirty scalps are a bit manky. As a hairdresser, they're ultra gross. But anyway, I won't get onto that. You can do that if that's what you need to feel presentable. It's so about you, Carolyn. So if that's how you feel like you can get your hair better, sometimes I would have to agree with you when I stretch it a little too far. I hope my mum doesn't come and kiss my head or my dad or something because it's gross. I'm pretty sure I would stink. So yeah, so you can definitely go through and give it a rinse in the shower. Once I've done this, I'm going to talk about a few things about fine hair. I've got my mannequin head here, and I want to cover a few little things about fine hair and some tips. Okay, so I've glazed. I have regained my curl clumps, and now I am squeezing back in my curl. Like so. Carolyn, you live in Queensland. Yeah, okay. It's so tricky. Different climates where you get more sweaty or humidity. You sometimes just need to do different things than what we need to in the cooler areas. So I'm going to actually brush this top section first. Sue, yay, fine grey hair here. I've got something for you, Sue. Okay. So I detangled first. Warm hair in the sprayer. Carolyn, you love the hot water tip. It's not mine. It's one of my mentors or somebody I really love to learn from. And if your hair is really thirsty, and this might be something you enjoy, Erin, or Carolyn, with the whole stinky hair post the gym, is you can put in some of our Nourish and Flourish conditioner if your hair is quite dry, or you can just pop a few drops of lavender, like an essential oil lavender in there. LOHY from Desert Curls, that's what she recommends, is a little bit of conditioner and a few drops of lavender, which is a natural, deodorizer. Okay, so then I'm just raking through my top mohawk. Now I have quite a problematic little front hairline, so I'm making sure I don't flick myself in the eyeballs, but I'm making sure I just press the product in where I need to. So that's the biggest tip, is make sure that where you know your hair is the most annoying, you go through and make sure you catch all those silly areas, cheeky spots. Okay, so at this point, if time was not your friend and you were rushing out of the house to get to school, get to work, just can't be bothered, this would be the point where you could slide in your volume combs and allow the diffusing to happen. Now, I know that the back of my crown was quite flat. I showed it to you earlier. So I'm actually just going to go in at the roots and spray that quite well. Reason being, if my roots are still dry and I go through and start diffusing, nothing really changes. It's the water that resets those bonds. So we want to make sure, if you get a flat crown, you need to wet the crown before you put the volume combs in. Wet the crown. And then we can slide these guys in. Now, I'm actually going to do a little bit of diffusing first before I put my combs in. Then I'm going to slide the combs in and I'm going to give you some tips on my friend here about fine hair. So, Sue, I'm coming for you. So same deal as to how we would normally diffuse hair is slinky the strands up and hold it there. And then we're going to hold our finger on the heat to keep it cooler. Carolyn, I love, love, love the volume combs. Yes. Last weekend, not the one literally just gone yesterday, but the weekend before, we went up to Sydney and exhibited in front of 4,500 hairdressers. And the volume combs, man, did they sell like hotcakes. Hairdressers love a good accessory, especially when they're $12. So I'm hoping to, every single one of them we've been continuing to reach out to. My goal is not just to sell products to them, but to be able to create places where all of you can find beautiful spaces. And if you're new to this whole method and you would like to see if you live near a curl specialist, we do have a salon locator on our website. So I probably need to check that updated, Ronnie, if you're listening. That's something we really need to check on. But we strive to really connect you guys with people that are in a local area to you. And then, you know, you're just building the economy, supporting small businesses exactly like mine, but the ones that are close to you. So now I'm just swapping sides. So if you were quite curly and diffusing is something that, you know, you don't really need to do, lucky you. But for me being a wavy, I need it. Okay, Carolyn, do the products have heat protectant in them? No, they don't at the moment. We are working on like a detangler slash bit of a hybrid product, so you could use it on if you are blow drying your hair, or if you were just detangling and that kind of thing. So we're trying to develop a product that will have still the cleanliness, the same methodology that we believe in, but with a heat protectant in there. So we're getting there. Ray, have I missed much? No, not really. The main tips are, Ray, and for anyone else who's just currently joined, is you want to work with a warm water in your sprayer. So warm water helps the product absorb more consistently and not just sit on the outside. You can visualize when your skin is nice and warm, it absorbs and takes things in exactly the same. I've sectioned through. Now before I got started, I did use dry shampoo, and I've just sectioned through, spritzed down each layer and glazed with some oomph. And then you just want to go until you're happy with how dry your hair is. You're welcome, Ray. And in a moment, I'm going to, once I've got my hair just a tiny bit more touch dry, I'm going to flip to our mannequin and give you guys some tips on what to do on tighter, finer hair. Because it's a real issue. Do I recommend any particular dry shampoo? In our salon at the moment, we use Original Minerals dry shampoo. It's lovely. It is an alcohol-based dry shampoo. Hence why I'm developing our own, so that we don't have the dryness of the alcohol that carries that aerosol one in. What heat setting am I using, Natalie? I'm using just 1 heat and 3 fans. That's led me to a good thing, Natalie. So if I was just glazing my hair with a little bit of wet hands and some product, I would only ever use fan speed 1. Why? Because my hair wasn't reclumped back in together, and if I use too much fan blowing up at the hair, it is going to make more floof. So because I have quite well wet down my hair, I have been able to go in with my normal like high fan speed. But if you are going in and you haven't put as much time or sectioned all that kind of stuff, and you're trying to just do an express refresh, well then you would want to drop your fan speed back to like a 2 or a 1. Good question though, Natalie. Thank you. Now make sure, for those of you with a bad crown, chin to the roof and catch the back of your head. So chin up, elongate your neck, and get some great volume through the crown of your head. So everybody, while you're diffusing your hair at home and you look at your ceiling or see, a cobweb in the corner of your bathroom, just remember you're doing it so the back of your head has sensational volume and no flat spots. Oh, it's so lovely to see all your familiar names coming through and new ones. Don't be shy if you have a question. Feel free to just drop them in. I'm quite wet at the front, and then once I get this side sorted, I'll slide my combs in and we'll talk about our friend, the mannequin head. But already you can see all my fluffiness is gone. Yay. I brushed this whole top section and I still have really good volume. So understand you can use your brush for a refresh. It is a good thing. You just have to combine it with water. Ray, do I wet my hair after the dry shampoo or do you brush after dry shampoo then wet? Correct, second thing. And I did mention at the start, Ray, that if you knew in the morning you were going to have to refresh your hair or you wanted to refresh your hair, it's a good idea to put your dry shampoo in the night before. That way while you're sleeping with your cozy on, the oil will just absorb. You won't really need to tussle it through or try and work it in. And when you wake up in the morning, it'll be all non-oily. Okay. That's enough. So now I'm going through, sliding in from the curvature point. So it's like just above the temple. And sliding in our volume combs. And I'm putting my other one in my crown because I had a very flat crown when we started this situation. All right, here is our friend Mary. Oh, Mary, you have not presented yourself very well here. Let me just sit her up a little bit taller for us. Okay, now the reason I want to show you this is most people will wake up in the morning, and the reason I wanted to bring this is because we were talking about this in the salon last week with a new client who's got really, really fine curly coily hair. And when you wake up in the morning and you take off your cozy, what you often will find if your hair is fine, all of your hair will be slicked back, even worse than our friend here. Whoop. She came off her stand. And you won't be able to shake and kind of do this to your hair. It just won't go. It'll stay like this. So what do you guys do? This is where you would grab your water sprayer. So the water sprayer becomes a daily thing for you. For me, it's probably maybe on the third or fourth day, I would need to start refreshing properly like I did just then. But for you with fine hair, if that is you, then this would become a daily essential. So you would go through and just get right in at the roots, mist lightly through the ends, but you need to reset and refresh that root structure that has dried like straight back. So you glaze through spritz through the water, sorry. Now, one thing I know about fluffy hair is the ends always, fine hair, sorry, is the ends always go fluffy. So when the hair is at this damp stage, you can give it like a bit of a, I call it a swing, to try and get the hair to try and fall back down and sit in its natural fall, as opposed to sit how the cozy slicked it back. So you're going to give it just a little shake around and then go through the ends and try and re-clump and kind of redefine. Now, if there isn't enough water in the hair, this won't happen. It'll make it fluffier. So you can just go through and spritz a tiny bit more as you do this. Now I'm just using crab claws, not raking, not using a brush. You could if it was damp enough. But in majority of situations, you would just go through, glaze over the top with your crab claws and let it kind of just fall into its spot. The more you fiddle with fine hair, the more floof you create. So the less you do to it, the better. You could do a hover diffuse. You could slide your if I can get them out. You could slide these guys in and just let them sit in there and dry. It's completely up to you. But the main thing is you're going to have to do this every morning. So that's the difference when you have finer hair, is it does need, you won't be able to get a 6-day wash week out of your hair. Whereas if I do a good refresh and don't get extremely grossly sweaty at the gym, I could get 6 days out of a wash week with the products. So understand what your hair is capable of, aka fine hair is not quite capable of that. You're going to need a more regular wash day. But in the mornings after you have, woken up, pulled your cozy off, you want to spritz down. You could apply a little bit more oomph, not too much. You don't want to weigh your curls down, but you really just want to try and re-clump back your fuzzy ends and settle the roots back into the structure of how you want them to lay. Anna, thank you. My pleasure. Okay, so I've taken out my volume combs. It's a tiny bit damp still, but I'm okay with that. I don't want to hold you guys here for too much longer. So if my hair was completely dry, I would do that and it would kind of floof out with kind of, fatten out all of my curl clumps. But such a different result to what I had at the start. And I did this slowly because I was, kind of re-explaining all the situations, all of what I did. I'll give you a look at the back. Hopefully it also looks nice. I can't see it, so who knows? But I have really great volume. I've got my curl consistency back again. Amazing. I don't have big knotty hair and broken apart curl clumps. So that is a real big win. So to recap, dry shampoo either the night before is probably best. But if you forgot or you worked out in the morning, then don't worry. Do it in the morning. Warm water in your spray bottle. And if you are quite a heavy sweater and you feel like you don't really enjoy the smell or the odor of a scalp that hasn't been cleaned, as regularly as what you normally like it to, you can drop some lavender or an essential oil that you love in your water. Just unscrew your sprayer, pop some oils in with it. Not too much because you could cause an irritation on your scalp, but just 1 or 2 drops would be enough, would be plenty, and it will just help fragrance. So glad I tuned in, Carolyn. Quite a few aha moments for me. Amazing. So then you go section by section. However much hair you have will depend on how deeply you need to section. Spritz with the water, glaze some product through. If it is damp enough, you can go in with the brush, but if your hair is quite prone to tangling, make sure you brush first before you dampen it. Big tip. And then kind of just work your sections and then start to scrunch in the curl. There's not a lot to it. I think it's just confusing the different hair types and what is required. So if you don't have oily hair, dry shampoo is not what you need. If you do have oily hair, dry shampoo is an essential to a refresh. And for me, it's something that my heavy hair will just become limp and heavy and not have any movement or definition through this area. I can still have volume here, but this all just goes flat. If your hair is finer, mist it down at the roots daily and through the ends to try and reclump the curls. And this will help extend your wash days. But the less product you put in, it's kind of better. So you would be better off if you've got fine hair, making sure you almost have a tiny squirt of conditioner in here so that you're hydrating if your hair is thirsty and trying to just bring it back in, but without any heavy application of product, just a light misting of product. And volume combs, they go without saying. They're just your ride or dies, like, you know, they're so good at their job. So yes, wonderful. Now I'm going to talk to you just in this final moment. This will take us about like not even 5 minutes. I'm going to talk to you how I use Hush and why we use Hush as a treatment. I'm going to get sci-fi first. And I know this is a bit backwards because of how cameras work. My mum lets me know every single time. Now, this is a dissection of a strand of hair. You don't have to memorize this, but this section here is called the cortex. The cortex is a sponge-like matter, and all of the hydration that we push in on wash day goes into the sponge, the cortex, okay? Now, that is what conditioner and water goes into. So this bit gets all juicy and squishy and delicious, and that's what helps our hair to curl. Now, the cuticle is this little zone. It is the outer shell of your hair. Now, we have cuticles on our nail beds. We have cuticles on our hair shaft. Similar situation. The cuticle of our hair gets a lot of wear and tear due to the fact that it touches everything. Hair ties, when it gets tangled in our sunnies, when we sit too close to a fire, or we use a straightening iron, which, you know, whatever. Use a curling wand, whatever it is that you're using, but what damages it, or if you just sit in the sun for ages, your cuticle gets damaged. Like your skin would get burnt, your cuticle gets damaged from that. So be aware that your cuticle is the thing that cops the brunt of the situational, topical, touch, environmental damage that happens around our hair. Now with curly hair, one more reference to this. Curly hair grows, this is a straight hair strand, it grows in a perfect circle. So if you cut it, dissected it, looked at it under a microscope, it's a perfect circle. Wavy, curly, coily hair is unsymmetrical in how it grows. So when our little sebaceous glands, I'm going a little bit sciencey here, but stay with me. When our sebaceous glands excrete natural oil, the job is that it goes over and glazes and nourishes the cuticle, which works perfectly on straight hair because it's a symmetrical circle. So it can just fall down the outer cuticle of the strand of the hair. Now, because curly hair people like you and me, we don't have a symmetrical strand of hair. So even though I am still in an age where my body is secreting natural sebum, it isn't evenly coating my strands because my hair doesn't grow uniform. It doesn't grow symmetrical. So this is the reason why we have to kind of help our hair a little bit because of the way it grows. It doesn't get enough. If you have more questions about that, watch our frizz and hydration video on YouTube. it will go into all of that, what I just explained and tried to fit in really quickly. So on dry hair, you want to go to dry hair. Now, the reason your hair needs to be dry when you do this is, do oil and water repel each other, or do they combine? They repel each other. So if you apply your oil on wet hair, it is actually unable to absorb in because there is water pushing it away from absorbing into your strands of hair. So make sure your hair is dry when you do this. Now, you want to, depending on how much hair you have or how coarse or how dry your hair is, you did see me, I just picked the top of this off, the little dropper. So you can just take that off when you want to do this service on yourself. With the new Hush bottles, you won't have to do that. But anyway, I've got about a 50 cent, 20 cent amount of Hush oil on my hands. Now, I am going to glaze this through my hair as a nourishing treatment. It does feel a little bit devastating because I'm actually pretty happy with my refresh, but I told you all I would do this, so I'm committed to the cause. So I'm shaking my hair back and ready to go through and pull this through my hair. Now, for me, being a wavy that doesn't have really dry hair, I do this possibly like once a month, or after I've swum in chlorine pools. Say you've gone on holidays and you just know that you've really neglected your hair. If you are someone that has multiple textured hair, aka grey hair, and you get those really coarse and wiry strands around your hairline, this is like a serious area there. Really press it into those areas. Super press it in. Now, what that will do is, it's kind of like when you have cuticle beds. You massage that stronger, more rich product into your cuticles to soften and make them a little bit more supple. So the same thing happens when we use the Hush Nourishing Oil. It goes through, oh, forgot I did that. It'll go through and it will just soften down all those. So for me, it is my front hairline that is the worst. And my other area that's the worst, now that my hair has gotten longer, is my underneath little rat's tail. So this can be done, this should be done, best time to do it is pre your wash day. So if you know you're going to shampoo your hair in the morning, or you think, oh, tonight I'm going to wash my hair, I don't have time to leave a treatment in the shower. You don't need to. Just go through half an hour before, an hour before, and put in your Hush oil. It smells absolutely deliciosa. And you want to basically just let it just hit the areas that are the driest to touch. Massage it in, really push it through, ribbon it through, press it on those really coarser, less willing to oblige sections. And then when you go in on wash day and hydrate the cuticle, hydrate the cortex, everything will just be really supple and willing and cohesive. So in our salon, a few of my more mature clients, they don't bother even washing their hair without doing this first. So they just know that their hair will be too rebellious and will be a fight. So if you have coarse, wiry hair and winter is just drying you out in a lot of areas, then make sure you try the Hush oil as a pre-wash nourishing treatment. Now, Ray, can you do the night before and sleep in it? Yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. You will find me at the gym tomorrow smelling ultra lush of Hush Nourishing Oil. So I've covered two big things here with multiple avenues in them, but obviously the refresh was our main focus, but I've just been noticing how dry my skin is and my hair was getting, and I thought it would be good to cover what Hush can do for you in these winter drier months. So you can watch the replay if you've just joined us. I appreciate you guys. Make sure if there's topics that you want me to cover, drop them in the group and ask the questions it would be really fun to just make sure that we're creating content and answering questions that you guys have. And LOHY, the rebrand, is happening. It's a big thing. It's a long journey. But we're hoping mid to end of July, we will have all of our new packaging out. We will be launching with refill pouches, 800ml refill pouches. So the 1 litre bottles will become a thing of the past, and you'll just be able to buy the 250ml or 300ml for the shampoo and conditioner, and you'll just be able to buy those and then just refill them as you please. And yeah, for those, I got asked earlier, what does the new name mean? It means love and hydration. And I can't think of two words that mean more to Yes Hair as a brand, or to LOHY as a brand, than loving and embracing your natural self and the importance of healthy hair having hydration. So I'm going to let you guys go and enjoy your night. There's probably a show starting in like 9 minutes. But I really enjoyed hanging out with you. Make sure you give those tips a go. Use warm water in your spray bottles. Section your refreshes. Go through, if you find you get a really stinky scalp, some essential oils in your water spray as well. If you find your hair is always really quite dry, then also a bit of conditioner. And tag me in any things that you're doing, or send me a private message if you really sucked at your refresh and you want some personal tips. Happy to help you. Or we can cover this again. So, yeah, good to hang out, guys. See you later.